Hello everyone. In last video, we talked about happiness, how people can become happy, because we are living in such difficult times where happiness is going to be quite eluding, right? It's going to be quite elusive, and people find it difficult to be happy. But today, what we are going to discuss is certainly, going to give people some kind of mantras that will turn them to be the happiest person on the planet if they're
Right.
applied in the proper fashion, right? If they're not applied, because whatever is discussed, whatever is taught, if that is not put into practice, I think nothing is going to work then. So what is the most important thing which people need to do is to apply whatever the learnings they get from the videos, right? They get from the podcast show. And today we are going to discuss such things which will definitely help people deal with the kind of lifestyle they are leading, and they will certainly be quite happy, and they'll be enjoying this journey to the fullest, right? So before we are going to start, let us know what the topic is. And the topic for today's discussion is mantra for happiness only a few people know. And as we discussed in the last video, that happiness is a kind of psychology. Whatever we do, whatever we think about, even the happiness is a kind of psychology, and brain and science, everything just is just a psychology. So we need to understand all these intricacies of brain and happiness and everything, and then we'll be able to put everything into practice, and then we will be quite happy, right? So Robin, before we delve into the video, I want you to start discussion, so that people will be having the inkling of what we're going to discuss, and what they can get from this deep discussion that we're going to have. Over to you.
Okay, good evening and good evening to everyone. See, we have already decided the core purpose for creating this particular video is to provide a way as to how a person could attain that level of peace in their life. And for this reasons, we keep trying, searching for different subjects and ideas, especially by reading books, so that we could ensure that certain things could be well reaching out to people so that they could really enjoy their life to the fullest. And I think it is an undeniably fact that we all want certain degree of peace in our life so that our life could be even more productive, because when we are happy, when we are in a blissful state, we can really do great things, because productivity is directly proportional to happiness. How much happy you are will be determining factor of how much success you can gather for you and for people around you, right?
Yeah.
So for this particular reason, we need to be very careful uh, about few things. We will discuss many things later on in this particular video, or maybe the videos which are going to be there in near future. But as we are talking about psychology in today's videos and its proper relationship with happiness, and how your well developed psychology could really help you to reach that peace, and your ignorance and your completely unawareness about your psychology can give you adverse effects too. All these things we are trying to cover through this video systematically, more in a more form of organized manner, so that you will understand it and you could be able to relate it. Moreover, you would be able to practically use it by having this applications on you. Each and every step we are going to discuss through this video. Over to you.
In last video, we discussed this particular thing, that what is science and what is brain. I mean, the psychology of science and the psychology of brain. So we were just talking about science versus psychology. We also tried to understand what psychology is, right? Because
Right,
people generally know that psychology is just a subject which deals with
right,
people's minds and people's behavior. But
right,
as we discussed in the last video, that psychology is not just psychology, it is everything we do is a
right,
psychology. For
Right.
example, we talked about science, and we talked about brain, and we also discussed the differences between these two, and
Right.
we got to know that we've got heart and we've got mind, and these two are different entities. For example,
Right.
if we talk about heart, so it has got relation with your emotions, with your feelings. But if we talk about brain, so it is it is all about it deals with your desires and all.
Right. Right.
And desires are different from our feelings. For
Right.
example, as we discussed the example of suppose somebody buys a car, so we get affected. And this is not, this why we get affected, because somewhere we start drawing some comparisons between
Right.
us and the other people. And this is how everything everything functions as per the psychology of its own. So, brain is always connected with your desires, and if your desires are not in accordance with your with your emotions, then you will always be facing problems. This is what we
Right.
discussed in the last video, right? So today, what we're going to discuss is if you who should you listen to? I mean, should you listen to your brain or should you listen to your mind? So, when you are able to decide, and when you are able to keep balance between these two, you can ensure happiness for yourself. If there is some kind of dissonance, then you would always find that this is going to set you up for misery, right? So Robin, just tell me, what do you think, who we should listen to? I mean, to brain or to a mind? And how we can bring, or how we can strike balance between these two, so that we can ensure a happy and successful life for ourselves and the people around us.
Okay. This is a really relevant one for this discussion, and I will not mince my word in accepting this particular fact, which is related to me, that it took me a lot of time to understand this concept of mind and brain. And sometimes I searched for, you know, spiritual books in order to build up my understanding on this mind and, intellect. And then I ended up reading Bhagavad Gita. I got to know many things from it. Then I read many other books pertaining to psychology, and they are also talking much similar to what all are written, especially in Bhagavad Gita. So we have to understand it very carefully, because many people sometimes have their misconceptions, and due to their misconceptions, they build up wrong notions, and ultimately they lead themselves to some altogether different directions, which is not at all the which is not at all sense the purpose of this particular kind of readings, right? So first, let's try to understand what it means when we deal with these two concepts or two particular points. I will use the word points since we are here taking these two as a part of the discussions, right? So first is brain, the second is mind. See, both brain and mind, first, many people say we take decisions by our heart. So heart has no particular kind of participation in taking any decisions. It is only your mind and intellect.
Yes.
Now, mind is a little different from your intellect. For example, mind can be related to an apparatus. Have you ever seen that apparatus in which we perform scientific experiments?
It just
So
carry out the commands you give it to
yes,
give
yes,
to
it
it.
is. It is somewhat like. So many scientists, use certain kind of apparatus or certain kind of objects in which they place their object on which this scientific observation and study is done. So mind is much related to that. Now we need to understand why. See, mind is a particular, part of the body which has its one function, and that is attachment. Any sense objects, there are numerous sense objects, plenty of sense objects. We are actually surrounded by objects of senses, right? So we have different things which actually attract to our senses. Okay, so we have food and delicious food which would definitely attract to our senses. Sometimes we have some new cars and bikes, just moving around us, so it will also attract to our senses. Sometimes we see those magnanimous and colossal buildings, constructed in a more magnificent manner, it also attracts our senses. So we are almost surrounded by, sense objects. Our mind has this one function to go and form an attachment with these kinds of sense objects. Therefore, we say that mind has only one function to attach. Now, mind can be attached in two forms. It could attach with sense object for the purpose it likes it, or sometimes it does it as it hates and detests. On both ways, mind is performing one function, that is attachment. For example, we love someone or we like something, so it means our mind is attached to that person, right? Sometimes what happens conversely, that we hate and abominably detest someone, that we really don't want to see the face of the person or to
Yeah.
do a certain activity for that matter. In also this way, our mind is attached to that particular detestable object, right? So we can say that's how our mind works. So this is what mind. Now understand this intellect. Intellect is much like a tool, much similar to a knife, which helps us to dissect things and reveal the real shape, the real picture of a particular thing, right?
Yeah.
For example, we would like to work from home because we feel comfortable while sitting home and
Yeah.
doing our responsibilities. So this very first kind of idea we have, this particular preference that generates and develops, it happens right from our brain, because our mind wants this, because our minds wants comfort, our minds wants certain thing which gives us comfortability in some or other way, because it doesn't want us to be in any discomfort, right? But at the same time, when you have to go to an office and you have to perform a duty, right? On the one hand, your mind is suggesting, yeah, what we are doing here, it's really a boring lifestyle and it's full of responsibilities. But at the same time, your intellect will keep indicating you that it's your responsibility. You have to continue to this. If you don't meet with your responsibility, you might be chucked out, especially of the job. You might lose your job. You might also lose those opportunities for earning. So this intellect keeps signaling you what is actually good for you, instead of providing you reasons of how many ways you can provide comfort you to yourself. That what is the function of mind, and the other function is the intellect. So now we can relate and we can understand this very difference between mind and intellect. Intellect always works something for what it is right, and it keeps giving you information, it keep giving you guidance, right? That you should do this and you should not do this, right? But your mind is always the one and functioning in only one direction, whether it will attach something or it will attach for two reasons, maybe for the detestable purpose, or maybe for that it likes something, right? So this is how this combination works. People whom we call successful are those who often listen to their intellect than their mind, because mind only knows about comfort, intellect cares what is right. So therefore they have their disciplinary lifestyle, they give much priority to their intellect. Therefore you might have heard this very famous saying, a businessman must not deal with business using his emotional minds.
Yeah.
If he uses his emotional mind, he might face a big loss in his business.
Yeah.
Therefore, he must use his intellect every second point, because then he may ensure that he may somewhere subside those, loss that he might incur in next future.
We
So
may
that's how.
relate this. We may relate this with one example. For
Yeah.
example, when we were studying, we used to go to school and we used to set alarm. And then as the alarm goes off, no, then we would just say, we would just snooze it, either snooze it or we would just stop it, because
Right.
the brain would keep, and the mind would keep telling us that no, no, just
Right.
you should not be getting up, because there is time and you should be sleeping. But there was one more voice
Right.
that is talked about, that is intellect, that no, it's too late now, you'll be getting up.
Right.
And
Absolutely right.
today is the going to be the most important lesson in school, right? So you should be leaving a bed. So mind is always engaging you in the comforts, which doesn't allow you to break or to come out of this comfort zone. But
Right.
intellect would always keep telling you, right? You might
Right.
also have experienced, you might also have observed in day-to-day life that whenever you have some kind of conflict, with somebody, or some kind of
Sure.
have some strife with somebody, but later on when you realize, because you will always be getting these two kinds of voices in your head, and one says that you've done it wrong, really, you have done wrong and you should not have done that. You should be going to the person and say sorry to that person. But there comes the mind, which always stops you, saying that why can't it be done by other person, right?
Right.
So this intellect, as you talked about, is always too much rooted in the righteousness, which
Right.
always lets you understand what right and what wrong, what is
Right.
right and what is wrong. But brain is somewhat, uh, it always goes with the, it
Uh,
doesn't care about what is right and what is wrong. But one
mm,
thing I would love to ask you is, if this is the nature of our brain, this is the nature of a mind, and this is the nature of intellect. So intellect, okay, it's good. But what if somebody's being governed by mind? Because somewhere we have, as we talked in the last video, that we have lost that natural psychology of
right.
ours, and that's why we are always in conflict with ourselves and with people around us, and we find it difficult to become successful, and be at to be at peace. So how can a person, as you've just talked about, then how can a person have the same kind of psychology which they had when they were born, because they were one free, their psychology was pure. And
Right.
even you talk, we read some examples of, generally we know that Lord Krishna was the incarnation of God himself.
Right.
But many people regard him as uh, a person who has gained that super, I would say, super
Mm,
consciousness, right? And that's why he went above, or you can say he surpassed all those limitations which people are actually not able to do.
right.
So what would you say? How can people reach that level? I mean, how can they regain that psychology they lost, and so that they can, again, be at peace, and they can become successful?
For this, I must say that we have to be little more observationalist. And since it's all a play of our psychology, and therefore it insists on us to be little bit more observing, so that we could understand those subtle aspects of psychology and how it works. Since you talked about why children are happy right from their birth,
Yeah,
and what are those ways using which we could really attain that previous lost stage, right? So we could restore that particular piece, right? Now, first of all, we need to understand why children are usually, you know, in a blissful state of mind, in a more ecstatic state of mind.
yeah,
Since they don't know anything about it, still they are happy. They don't care about name, fame. They don't even give much regard to wealth and money. They don't have any such kind of personal preferences, which usually we have, right? First thing we need to understand it very carefully. That is, if any person has problems such as disturbance, instability, or tranquilities, tranquility breaching, or you can say turmoil, turbulence in their minds, it is just because of one thing, and that is conflict arising between mind and brain.
brain.
That is the sole reason for why we are not at peace. This is the mood point which people have to acknowledge it first and then take according steps so that it could be neutralized or it could be somewhere managed. People cannot think of neutralizing this particular event that happens on a routine basis because it takes a lot of practice. But over time, we can certainly ensure that yes, we could manage it successfully. Many people do it more often, more frequently. So let's understand first how this conflict arises at the very first place. And then we will talk about the possible results and the ways out using which we could really ensure, this peace to all of us. Conflict, as we have talked in the previous part, there are two segments, brain and mind.
Mind, yeah.
So conflict often and frequently arises between the two. Now, what kind of conflicts I'm talking about? And when we say that children are at peace, does it mean that they don't have this conflicts? Obviously, they don't have those conflicts as an events happening in their minds. But we do have those events so often. Why and how it happens? It's very easy to understand with a certain example as you talked and many people understand. Let's take an example of a kid and observe that kid under a certain kind of circumstances. For example, a kid whose all friends are playing and frolicking together. And this particular kid was being forced to study. Now, his mind should not be stabilized and could not be stabilized on study because he can certainly see that his all friends are playing around
They're
him.
playing, yeah.
Now, we are forcing this kid to study, and his mind is overwhelmingly inclined towards play. Now the conflict is arising. How? That on the one hand, he is facing force from us, which is insisting on him to please study, study hard. But on the other hand, his mind is more often or more inclined towards, this play. So that's how this conflict arising between mind and brain, right? However, the child doesn't know about it, but we can understand it through his, disposition. It He probably might get frustrated and annoyed if we overly, compel him to study further, especially when his all friends are playing together, right? The same thing is happening with us too. How? That I want to sleep late morning. That is what is my mind advice to me.
Yeah.
But my intellect is forcing me to get up early in the morning at 5 or 6 so that I could do much to my health so that it could be little more
That you can have some
present.
extra time for yourself.
Right. So now there is a conflict going on. We are not able to, observe this, but there is a conflict going on. We want to wake up early in the morning, but our mind is constantly nagging at us, nudging us. Please keep sleeping. It's just 5:30. What you gonna what you gonna get just by waking up early in the morning? So you are going to waste your morning hours, as precious hours for sleeping. So when you have or let this thing allow to happen to you, this conflict goes on and on and on. So we need to understand this conflict. That's what I told you, right? We have to be a little bit more, sharp and keen in calculating this minute events happening in our brain. And when we realize this event happening, we have two ways out. Now I'm talking about a little solution. We have two ways out. Either we could eliminate this conflict right from its root, or we could go and try to manage it. The former solution is not for common people like us, because in this way, what we are wanting, elimination of this conflict. Elimination of conflict cannot be materialized. It cannot be made possible to humans like us, especially in the early phases of learning, right? Of this practice, because you are talking about eliminate the entire conflict. It you cannot do. But you can do one thing. This is certainly in your hand. That is, you can manage it. So if you can manage this conflict, now, if you can manage this conflict, you can certainly reduce the burden, the stress. I mean, ask yourself, and anyone can have this experiment on their own, that if they have certain kind of continuous, conflict going on between mind and brain for any of the reasons. I mean, we have multiple and assorted problems, isn't it? Plenty of problems we are besieged with, and these plenty of problems continuously force us to find a solution for that, right? But ultimately is what we are doing, we are building up stress. So natural psychology comes here and says in this particular part that one who manages it without forcing any part, what it means that the person doesn't need to force either, neither brain nor mind. It has to go with the flow. It has to go with the flow. And if they practice it on a regular basis, then they can ensure a little bit, you know, relieving or relief on their part from this particular consistent and persistent, conflict. That's how we, understand and try to find a solution for this. And that's how we try to, restore that, natural psychology.
You mean that people, if people have crystal clear, idea what
Hmm,
they are supposed to do,
hmm,
then the conflict is not going to be there.
right,
Although it's going to be quite challenging in the beginning because we all humans are emotional beings and we
right,
cannot eliminate these emotions completely. This is going to be impossible because at
right,
times we feel happy, at times we feel sad, at times we feel overwhelmed, and at times we feel very I would say blissed out. So
hmm,
this is our nature, right? We cannot eliminate these emotions, but yes, we can make us realize that what's more important for us.
right,
And this is possible when you've decided something for yourself. For example, if I talk about you, and so you are very much into exercise, right? You just go to gym, and you go jogging, you go running, and this is not going to be possible for each and everybody, right? Because you can do this because you have decided what is good for you, right? And that's why you always prioritize this. And
right,
initially you may have some you might have to you might be facing some conflict from your brain, so from your mind, right? But then your intellect subdued that,
right,
telling or explaining it that this is the most important thing. If I want to keep fit, I am supposed to do it, right? So
right,
if we talk about me, for example, many people find it difficult to get up early in the morning, but it's been almost more than a decade. I've been getting up at 5 o'clock, without without exception. I mean, I don't even celebrate any holiday, even though I
hmm,
have, because I don't really want to disturb my routine. And
right,
now I don't really find it difficult to get up
right,
in the morning. I don't really feel
right,
sleepy while doing it because even I don't set the alarm, my body clock wakes me up. This
right,
happens because this is initially I had some difficulty. I mean, when I was studying in class 10th, I used to find it difficult to get up in the morning because the mind never allows you to
right,
do some difficult things, or
hmm,
to give some trouble to your body, because
right,
it always loves comfort zone, right?
right,
So when you have decided something for yourself, and it is crystal clear, I think deciding what you have to do is not going to be a challenge, and then you will not be actually facing any kind of problem, and you'll be enjoying what other people may be thinking quite depressing and distressing, and
right,
something which makes them unhappy, right?
right.
So before we discuss something more, I want to ask you one thing, that in this case, what I mean, who we should listen to? I mean, should we listen to a mind, or should we listen to a brain? Because
Oh,
it's difficult for people to
right.
decide. Sometimes we think that okay,
Mm.
let it be whatever it
Right,
is.
right,
I'm not gonna be the richest person in the world. I'm not
right, right,
gonna be the most successful people in the world. I'm not gonna be the king, right? I'm not gonna be the PM and CM, whatever it is.
right.
So we say that okay, I'm an ordinary person. Why to take? I'm not carrying the whole world on my shoulder. Why to take
Right,
so much trouble? So
right.
these kind of thoughts may bug you. These kind of thoughts may trouble you. So in that particular situation, what should people do? I mean, who should this listen to?
Okay, I tell you one interesting thing on this part. It is said that when Bhagavad Gita was recited by Lord Sri Krishna, uh, it was done for Arjuna's
Yeah,
conscious awakening. And when Bhagavad Gita was being recited, um, there was no as such idea or a thought to which uh, Lord Sri Krishna was occupied with, that he might get fame
yeah,
after this recitation of Bhagavad Gita, or he might gain certain popularity after
hmm,
this. He was just going solo, having no personal predilection or attachment to any future popularity.
yeah,
So he did it out of his own volition without having any expectations of return to him in future.
yes,
And since he was doing it out of his heart through his own volition, which was not driven and motivated by personal gain, and therefore it is said perhaps it is the reason for why he got that much fame. Now, what thing this suggests is very important, and in fact, many people can take a lesson from this event. When we do a certain activities in our life, but after and while doing, when we don't attach our personal gain to that, then there is a sure possibility that you might achieve that pinnacle in your career, or especially touch to that sublime or sublimation of that particular activity, because you were not affected in any way by either of the results that you might face in future, failure or success, as what happens in binary term,
yeah,
right? So therefore, since you asked me this question, how to tackle this conflict and to which we should listen to, you might have seen many a time that people who are living in villages, they are old aged, their lifestyle is not pretty kind of healthy lifestyle. You may see them, smoking tobacco, and they are still hale and hearty, living,
yeah.
crossing 100 mark.
They don't even go to gyms, and
They
but their
don't
belly
go
is quite flat.
right, because they are following their natural cycle. They don't know, trust me, they really don't know about it. What is natural psychology?
Yeah,
What they know is, probably they don't even know this, but they don't allow the brain to react with events and form combination of psychologies.
yeah.
They are very expert in doing so. We are educated. We know nitty and gritty of each and every event.
That's
We
why we
don't.
use too much of our logic.
Yes, we use too much of logic, and that is what to which we are enslaved. When you do more than needed calculation for a certain thing, it is you who gets bewildered. So therefore, our psychology says that how you can reduce this formation of psychologies through combinations. And that happens when you when you allow your brain to react with different events that happens, right? Sometimes you might have experienced, especially I did this many a time, that and these people whom we call as some illiterate people, uneducated people, as they carry no image in the society, that anyone could come and slap them, but these people are not affected at all. These people are not affected at all, can't be said and can't be right in societal concept, because everyone gets hurt, and due to this hurt everyone feels pain,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So pain is something which is a necessarily experience, which everyone has to experience for this. But the next thing which comes, whether you are going to take it as an insult or not, is your personal option, is your personal understanding how you don't, how you want to deal with this. So
You
if you
mean
want to
you,
take it
you
as,
mean that your reaction is going to decide how you will feel after it?
absolutely, our reaction is going to decide how we are going to feel. So if we find it's all okay, if it happens to me, it's okay, but we are not going to overreact this thing. It's better to leave the place and get back to our busy life. Many people do that, and therefore they live their life peacefully, and they are more see, our purpose of creating this video is to make people aware about all those nuances of psychology. Applying those, they could really live life more peacefully. Many people come out and say, what is the meaning of life when you lose your when you lose your entire image? Then comes this play of psychology. When you say what is losing image, what is success, what is failure, all are these, concepts of psychology, which we'll try to cover in some other episodes. Otherwise it will be going astray, is astray from this overall discussion,
Yeah,
right? So coming back to the point, how do, and to whom or to which particular thing we need to adopt.
yeah.
See,
Or listen
either,
to.
and see, I mean, let's take an experiment. If you go and listen to intellect, your mind will get annoyed, and the other way around things is also possible, which means that if you accept your mind, the, your intellect will get irritated, right, Peter? So you listen to either. One thing is sure, that conflict is going to arise, right? So in this way, how we can cope and how we can manage, we can do one thing. We can do things which gives us happiness, which ensures us happiness. Happiness is that which doesn't go against our will. For example, waking up early in the morning is good for health, undoubtedly. And one must practice this. It has been written in the granthas and scriptures everywhere, and it is
Yeah,
scientifically proven thing. Many people are very lethargic, lazy, live their life more sedentary lifestyle. They lead this lifestyle, right? For them, it's really a difficult task. They cannot wake up in the morning. Now, if they try to wake up right from 5 a.m., right from the first attempt, then it's going to be very painful for them. So they should not compel themselves for following certain kind of rules, because they will end up annoying their own psychology, disturbing their own psychology, arising conflict, which then goes out of hand, which becomes uncontrollable and unmanageable. Therefore, go with a steady pace. Give yourself a little bit time. If you want to wake up 5, then wake up at 6:30. In this way you will try to manage this conflict.
yes,
See, coming back to the point, what we are trying to do, we are trying to reduce this very intensity of conflict. First, the task is how you could reduce the intensity of conflict, and once you are able to do that successfully, then you can completely eliminate it. So it's an overall process of how you can reduce the conflict, sorry, how we could reduce the conflict and then eliminate it permanently. And it is only possible when you pursue yourself, especially on the path, right? Yep.
we people, just because out of our education, out of our knowledge which we have been imparted, have turned the things, upside down. How? Because now we are living a life, opposite. For example, now you can see that people have changed the day into night and night into day. I mean, they're staying up late at night and they're getting up, very late in the morning. For example, they're going to bed at around, 1 o'clock and 2 o'clock, and then get up at around 12 o'clock and 1
Right,
o'clock during the day. So how can they how can they feel themselves at peace? This is going to be
right,
impossible, because the whole
right.
whole system has got disturbed, and
Right.
that has created all this chaotic situation. One more thing, as you talked about, that when somebody says something to you, uh, sometimes what happens, that we just say, okay, we just take it easy, we don't react that much, but people come to us and they say, this person has such wrong things to you and you're not reacting." And then we
Correct.
start giving it a knee-jerk reaction,
Right.
making everything a mess. So we should actually be thinking about it, that people have got, they have lost that psychology of theirs, and they have, because of this education,
Hmm.
have we don't actually find it easy
Hmm.
to say right from wrong, and that's why we always get affected. The next thing which we have to discuss is, tell me how, how our needs snatch the peace of a mind. We know that we people have got so many needs, and to meet those needs, to fulfill those needs, we don't care actually what is happening to us and what we're gonna face, what we're gonna experience. We are working, you know continuously hard, and as
Hmm.
a result we have put our health at risk. And this risk, as we have already put our health at risk, we are not feeling that ourselves to be in that ecstatic, kind of state. So now tell me, how do our needs snatch the peace of our mind?
When I got to know about needs, and specifically its overall impact on humans brain, trust me, I was really surprised to know that this point or this extent of damage it could do to human mind overall, and eventually the society. I don't think many people deal this particular event of needs in this way or not, but I think we should start dealing it in that way. Because if you think it logically, it is our needs who are telling us to do a perform or to act or to perform something, because our need is combinedly uh, is connected towards the particular path using which we could meet that particular need, right? So first we need to decide what kind of needs we need to develop and create for ourselves. If we are trying to follow people because we are influenced by them, and we find that these people have their own needs, and so we should have the same, and if we go with this way, we are going to end up spoiling and ruining our life, right? So on this particular point of part, I would say that we have to be very clear about our needs. Our needs has the potential to create and destruct society. For example, when we go back to ancient era, and then we try to figure out those differences, especially in needs which were then and needs which are now, then you find a stark difference
Yes.
between those. Earlier, we were confined to only uh, few things, as we found these are very important for survival. In other words, we call it biological needs. So, reproduction, food, these were the confined needs for us. As long as we are having food, our life was on right track, and nothing else we expected thereafter. But as we evolved further, our needs took a shape and almost took off from this position to almost a sky like high by adding psychological needs, in which then we begin to include social security, financial security. economic stability, reputation, success, failure. All these came, especially in this particular department, right? So now we have completely taken a shift from the needs, from where we initiated our human evolution, now to the psychological needs. Needs that were introduced to us before were reasonable needs because these were biological needs. And ask yourself, if we don't fulfill those biological needs, could we even survive? Obviously not.
Not.
Because food is our natural need, it's our biological need. We have to arrange food for ourselves. And in the absence of it, we cannot survive here at all, right? But can we survive without success? Can we survive without failure? So, all these psychological events in the form of words, subjects, concepts are mere figments, are mere psychological web. That's what I can say. That only deal with your psychological understanding, and the absence of these psychological events in your life doesn't make much difference on your lifestyle because it doesn't threaten your life at all. It doesn't threaten your existence at all, right? But unfortunately, today we rather see too much of involvement in psychological needs and too much of advocation to these psychological needs. And in the name of psychological needs, we are almost playing with the nature by exploiting the immediate environment. So what we are doing in the name of success, I mean, needless to say this, but obviously we can see what we are doing with people, what we are doing with the nature around us, are not be too much of exploitative to this near environment, especially just because of we want to be rich, just because of we want to be successful, and this is just because is the need of the hour. As long as you are not successful, as long as you don't hold any power in your hands, you are not going to be regarded and respected in the society. Are these truly needs which we really need to take along with us and pass it on to our future generation? I don't think so. So we have to take a little more analysis, or do a little more analysis on this and try to find out, are these needs truly important and significant needs that really advance human progress in any way? Or if it does, then in what way it progresses human's life? And if it doesn't, then how it is digressing human life overall? We need to evaluate it as early as possible because we are almost reaching to the threshold of verging of losing our existence, right? Because if you see the environment right now, and if you compare, I mean, the environment of now to the point prior to the industrialization, then you would be able to distinguish this very difference between those. Secondly, people are still hungry today, starving, and we are talking about how we could reach to the Mars, because we are almost bending ourselves towards this line of success and development. You might have heard, statements being made by those Tesla's owner. He is he has a dream of
He's going
establishing
to establish a locality,
on the
colony,
Mars.
colony there. Yes.
Yes, yes. Now he is not able to cope with the prevailing miseries, poverties, hunger already here on this planet, and he is talking about to start a new business there on the Mars, which means that we have completely, accepted the failure that we cannot handle these ongoing problems, and it's better to avoid it in this way by evolving and evoking a new form of needs. And this is that why we should not go and arrange a home or a settlement there on the planet Mars. In this way, we will be declared as the most powerful human being. So, look at the irony here. That's what I want to say.
It's quite, okay, he has just planned it, but it seems to be quite impossible because to get there first, you need to have billions to spend, right? So
Right,
that's
right,
not going to be possible for each and everybody. There are very handful of people who are, who will be doing this. Second thing, that you cannot recreate, everything there. If you will be taking everything right from here to that place, it's gonna be quite impossible, right?
right,
So, because nothing is available there. If you find water there, so only water is not needed to sustain the human life. Other things
right,
are also responsible. You need to have vegetation, right? There are no trees. How can you will be growing trees? But do you think there are ponds and there is not so much water we've seen. We have just seen you can say the humidity, right? But not enough water, which can sustain the
I'm not even concerned about whether he is going to be successful in his near future or not. What I'm more troubled about is that how a person could even make such planning to establish a new settlement on the planet Mars when he has plenty of problems, which
right
is
here on
happening
this planet.
especially on this planet. So you are trying to almost shirking off your responsibility. That's what I can say.
This is, what I consider to be the race of, madness. Actually, people have
Yes,
really gone
this is
mad because
called, yes,
instead of be, planning to be there, they should be planning to eradicate poverty from this planet. We should be trying to, to bring the vegetation back to the planet, right? Because we can see that a lot of vegetation has been, destroyed. And
right,
you can see this the effect of globalization, right? The
right,
effect of
absolutely.
global warming, right? And its effect of industrialization. And right now, you must be knowing that America, which is
Has done already.
they
More
have,
than thousands of nuclear experiments and tests
yes. So
alone this has done.
these nations, these people responsible for this kind of situation here, and I think if they reach there, they will be destroying that planet as well, right?
True, obviously. This
Yeah.
is inevitable. This is
Yeah.
human's nature.
Yeah, so this is what's gonna happen. One more thing I would love to talk about is, as you said that our needs are actually going to take the peace away from us, and yes, and I would like to sum it up with one particular example. For example, what happens when you go to a doctor and ask him or her to do a kind of checkup? So they prescribe you certain things which you are supposed to follow, right? Which you are supposed to go with. For example, if they tell you that you should not be eating this if you really want to stay healthy, right? So we start following those things in the similar fashion. When it comes to leading a happy life, we should be deciding what is
Right,
the most important thing for us. We should not be going with people. We should not be going with our, whims and impulses.
right,
We should be deciding because we are educated. And I think
right,
you are educated in true sense if you are able to decide what is right and what is wrong. If
right,
you think that this need is not going to be quite useful for me, I think following or chasing that particular thing is not good, is going to be quite it's going to be, it's not going to help you grow in your life. It's not going to help you be happy, be happy in your life. So why to chase such needs? Why to fulfill such needs which are not at all going to add anything or any happiness to your life, right? And you will simply be straining yourself. You'll simply be spending your energy on unproductive things. So we should be shedding all those desires and needs which are not at all going to help us be happy and successful in our life. And for this, comparison should be eliminated from your life,
right,
because these unusual needs, we start fulfilling these unusual needs when we just want to show it off.
right.
right? For example, we've discussed it in our videos before as well, that if somebody is there on on social media, and they are showcasing their wealth, their they are showcasing their muscles and all, and you will be feeling jealous that I don't have this kind of lifestyle, I don't have this kind of material wealth. I should be making all endeavors to get it all, right?
Right.
And this will never let you be, peaceful.
Right.
So if you can decide that what needs you should be fulfilling, and what needs you can do without, I think no need can snatch this happiness from you. It is you who's giving you the remote control of your happiness to these needs
True.
and to the people around you. And that's why you are staying, or you're feeling this kind of state of mind, right, in your life. So the next thing which we have to discuss is, tell me, who tells us what is right and what is wrong? I mean, what is good and what is bad? Who tells us, and who should we believe that yeah, this is the right thing and this is the wrong thing, I should not be doing it?
It is very easy, and some events in our life are so easy to grasp that we really don't need to look for any help, or especially any outside help. Something that goes against our will, something that appears to be an imposition on us or a coercion for any reason, then it should be outright discarded. Even if it is a practice, even if it is certain idea, thought process, whatsoever it is. In fact, as you what said in your part, that we get influenced a lot, and being influenced, we start taking those success literally, and then we start emulating them, irrespective of the position where we are, irrespective of the environment under which we are brought up. We almost undermine all these factors which are crucial for everyone. So, whom to listen and whom not to listen? First, we need to listen to ourselves and our natural psychology. And this is easy as it could be. It doesn't require any rocket science. I mean, it's easy that, and it's only up to us how we are going to react to a certain thing. So, no one is telling you that you have to take a certain person seriously just because of this fellow has been well acknowledged in the society and has been well renowned, and he is just for few reasons, because he has wealth, he has certain position, and he holds some connections with strong people. This is all our fabrication, and we are making this fabrication as a base on which we could keep torturing ourselves, that we have to be like that, we have to be particular like that person. And this is much like, uh, I mean, unleashing, you know uh, atrocity on oneself, which I think we must, uh, you know avoid, right? One thing I want to add to this very point: everything that appears to be true is not true, because we need to develop a sight to understand the reality that actually lies, behind that particular event, right?
Yeah,
So since we are talking about how we can reach to the psychological natural psychology, and to which we should listen to, so that we could maintain a balance between brain and intellect, right? And this is also a fact that we humans are with a certain psychology where we want to develop ourselves, and I think there is nothing wrong about it.
yeah,
Development is not at all bad. In fact, it uh, embellishes your overall identity, because you born with attributes such as reasoning, intellect, and consciousness, right? And if you don't use this and utilize it properly, then what is the use of having those at the very first place? But while using those things, we have to be very fixed and composed in terms of direction that we are using it. So any activity we start, any particular participation we do, or let's say any hobby we practice whatsoever it is, or any profession we are involved in, we need to do this out of our own personal choice. It should not be burdened on us. First step towards making our life to a natural psychology, or leading a life to a natural psychology. Second, after you have chosen your particular habit or a profession that you want to engage with for your entire life, you should not connect yourself to this for the purpose of achieving any personal gain. Personal gain, personal benefits, and such motivation are fuel which actually exaggerate or exacerbate your overall distress. You become distraught and disconcerted. Why? Because we have been working hard for long and we got failed so miserably. So it is not our working hard which is giving us pleasure because we did that. Rather, we are getting displeased for we didn't get the results what we were expecting. And how relatable this thing with Bhagavad Gita itself. Bhagavad Gita itself says, continue to do your hard work, your favorite activities, your profession, whatever you like. But don't let your mind to attach with that, and especially the fruit of it. So that's what we have said. I mean, we have talked about the statement and investigated and thoroughly investigated this statement being made by Virat Kohli. He said he never cares about his 100. He never cares about what is going to happen. He only cares about how you could give his 100%, and he loves to do that very activity. So this is very important. These things may sound trivial as it doesn't impact many people. Many people know about these things. But knowing and putting things into practice are two different things. So knowing alone is not going to be enough to really have and taste a real result. You have to bring yourself to the ground and apply this to your routine life, and then see the difference, the remarkable difference in your overall lifestyle. So that's all things which we have to be carefully dealing with, and by focusing everything on each and every event using our psychology, because psychology is everything. There is nothing about every particular event that arises right from our psychology is a mere imagination, as long as that particular object cannot be defined with its specific object. Example, you can define table with its specific figure kind of object which appears to be table, right? But can you define success with its specific physical object? No, there is no such physical object that could denote to success or to failure or to moksha or to heaven or to hell. These are all psychological fragmentations. These are all psychological, you can say, uh, fruits, what you can say, which you which we keep dealing with according to our own preferences, right? Today we give much importance to wealth because we see people who get more respects are wealthy and rich.
Yes.
Tomorrow, if the same people won't have that money, still have, but people are not giving them response, so perhaps the value of money would be reduced in our eyes. This is so simple, I think.
Yes, and I'm reminded of one example and illustration which is given that we can see that government is trying hard framing new policies
Ah,
in order to combat corruption. So what is corruption? Corruption is also a kind of psychology, right?
psychology,
And
right?
why can it not be stopped? Because people know that those who get those who have wealth are respected, so everybody wants to be to be respected in the society,
Right,
and
right.
they will always be trying hard to gain wealth, and
Accumulate money,
therefore the
amassing
corruption is
wealth,
not going to end, right?
right?
So this is also kind of psychology. And I'm reminded of one statement made by Rohit Sharma when he was out of form and he was not actually performing well. Then the critics they started hurling some abuse, abuse at him. And then he said that I always consider my critics to be my beloved.
Right.
Because they never stop thinking and talking about me. They're always talking about me, so I love it. Right. So this is also kind of psychology. If he started reacting on those
Right.
comments being made by those critics of his, then I think he would always be in this
Correct.
depressed kind of state. And
Depressed and would be revolving like a churn in a vortex. So that will
yes.
be difficult.
So
Yeah.
he would keep facing those kind of, and then he would always see that these people are going to be against me because of something. Then when you start believing in something, when you start forming some kind of opinion about something or somebody, you think that everybody is going against you. Everybody is
Right.
doing the same thing to you because this also becomes your psychology, right?
Right.
So that's why we always say that psychology is everything. So we should always try to get back to a normal the former psychology which we
Right.
were born with. And if we can do that, then it is going to be easy for us to to stay happy life, to lead a
Right.
happy life. One more thing I would love to say before I wrap it up, that as I asked you this question, who we should listen to and who can tell us what is right and what is wrong. One thing I would always say, that those who are always trying to instill fear in you, those who are always trying to make you believe that you are not good enough, those who are always trying to stop you from reaching your highest potential, I think we should stop listening to all those people and all those thoughts
Right.
which even in which the thoughts which are also and emanating from us. So
Right.
we should not be listening to them, and we should always believe that we were created out of that infinite source, and that force which is I would say which is uh, omnipotent, I would say, right? So how can we say that we are not good enough? We are
Right.
good enough, and we should be trying very hard because we God gave us this intellect. And instead of indulging in too much too much indulging in too much use of logic, we should be applying this particular logic in a proper fashion, so that we can get those results which we are actually expecting from ourselves. And this is going to be possible, but your psychology should not be adulterated. It should not
Right.
be combined, and it should not be converted into other psychologies. Only
Right.
then will you be able to reach that potential which you are actually you have and you were born with, right?
Right.
With this, I am wrapping this show up, and we will come with the third part of the same. And these parts which we have created are combinedly going to give people the knowledge which they truly need. And if they really want to live a happy life, if they really want to reach those heights, they really want to scale those heights, then I think they should start putting everything they've been taught into practice, and they would see some miraculous results, right?
Right.
So with this, I'm taking leave. I will see you in the next show.
Good night.
Good night.